Listener discretion is advised.
Just hold your wad there, fella.
It's time for another Steel Revolution podcast.
Playing Steel Revolution's podcast.
Please keep in mind that the opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the individuals, and they do not reflect any official view of the United Steelworkers, USW, Local 105, or its officers or sub-board members for officers.
Merry Christmas! Dinner was full!
Speaking of full shit,
Mike's back.
Just as good as the first time we did it, Sean.
well, that
That was awesome.
Yeah.
well.
Second time won't be as good.
Second time around, good job, Sean.
Yeah,
Hey,
well done again.
Hey, it's not my fault.
No, I'm saying good job on the...
Oh, I thought you talked about the first time. Yeah, well. Computer issues, but here we are. Number 140.
Number 140, take two.
140 times 2.
Yep, I'm Roy Hutt.
Sean Geisens.
Mike Nicholas.
Lee Schaefer.
Hello.
Yeah, we got Mike back.
Oh, hang on here. Come on.
Look, apparently I'm the princess, Mike Nicholas.
Sorry, wasn't ready.
Well, you got to get the one with Brad.
Which one?
Well, we've established we have a princess
no.
and a grieve here. I'm
What?
Roy Hutt.
Welcome back, Princess.
There it is.
Not even here.
I
and he
love
can.
that one.
Welcome back, Princess.
Yes, I'm back, bitches.
That is... That is my favorite, and for one or two people, they're happy Mike's back.
I'm hoping more, but yeah,
Well, I thought
maybe
it was
two.
more than that. I thought it was
Maybe
5. It isn't 5 then? That was
Roy's being generous.
over-exaggerated?
Roy was being generous when he said 5. It might be 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
On a good day.
Absolutely.
It's giving Mike too much credit
Yep. Do that from time to time.
Never.
all the time.
Sean, are you queued up for the next?
I'm looking for that right now. I probably need to do all this stuff all over again and get it together. But yeah.
Okay.
Now, Steel Revolution events calendar and news. Now what you need to do is like shuffle your paper.
Oh, he really shuffled those, didn't he?
Thanks, Sean.
Welcome.
The United Way campaign. Again, this is the events calendar, but I didn't change any of the dates up or put it in order. The same as last time, so we're just going to hit it down the line
Okay.
and see what happens. So the United Way campaign, does this sound like this is on?
Yeah.
Because to me it sounds like...
Well, get a little bit closer to it. How about
does it sound like
Oh,
it's
that's
on?
much better.
That's a little
Okay.
better, yeah.
Much better.
First time on the
Man,
podcast.
Man, all these microphones are jacked up, Sean.
I told you. I don't know.
So anyway, United Way campaign will be coming to an end. I'm going to take one more look this week, and then that'll be the last time I really look to see if there's any forms up at Center Gate. Did have a veterans event at the plant. Lee, you want to review that?
Yeah, that was actually really good. I attended the one in the afternoon. It was really good. Went over suicide and kind of some red flags you can look at to see if someone's having troubles and see if they need help and those types of things. So I thought it was well done. We had somewhat of a decent turnout, at least on that one. So very well done and learned a lot.
Yeah, it's a good event to have out at the plant.
Yeah, and we'll try. I mean, we as usual we heard from some night shift people that
Yep.
maybe need to see if we can try to get them to be a little bit do a little bit later so they can attend as well. So we'll see what we can do.
All right, the committee person and board meeting is the 12th of December. We had the charity bingo event on November 16th. That raised over $500, and again, that money goes to a local school supply drive. Business meetings will be this month on the 17th. A reminder that the 11:20 meeting is being moved to 1:30 p.m. for the month of December, January, and February. We had the recognition event. So we were out there, all the bargaining reps participated, one of the first time, maybe the first time ever.
I think so, yeah.
All
Yep.
4 of us did. We
5.
5, yeah, 5. All 5 of us, and
You always forget me. I get it.
yeah. Well, sometimes you're here, sometimes you're not.
I get it.
So
Touche.
again, we feel like we're moving in the right direction on some of our issues that we've had at the plant, and working pretty well right now with plant leadership and the leadership above the plant level. So that's why we chose to participate. So hopefully we keep that relationship going and keep on working on our issues.
It was chilly out.
Yes, it was.
Pretty cold.
Yeah.
Mike, the Nathaniel Payne scholarships.
Yeah, so those were due on Friday. Not sure how many we got. I think we're close to 30. We'll be drawing for 10 $500 scholarships at December's business meeting, which is the 17th, correct?
Yep.
We pay for 5, and Essential will pay for 5. So look for your name in the Forerunner, and we'll be getting those out in early January.
All right, thanks, Mike. Another thing that happened on the 6th was the Soar Chili Supper. Good event. Those guys put on a very good event with the food they got and the raffle prizes. It's their main fundraiser of the year. And Lee, you gave the chili what on your
An 8. She gave
Schaefer
it an
scale?
8. Tasty chili.
Tasty.
Tasty. It was tasty.
So if you didn't have the chance to partake this year, be watching next year. It's a good event and it's good food.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday, we had the Next Gen put on the Holiday at the Hall. Very good event. A lot of people attended. I want to thank everybody that attended and the Next Gen committee for the great job they did putting it on. We were able to raise over $1,400, which will go towards a giving tree. And we're going to try and take care of that this week. So again, thanks to everybody involved.
That was a really good event. I
Yeah.
know
Well done.
you
Very well done.
Stop by, and I tell everybody, they did a really good job, and this should be a staple going forward.
I agree.
Yep. Kids loved it, I thought, It's awesome.
I saw you coloring too. He's not
some-
going to say
Let's go.
anything.
Somebody at the plant asked me this morning why you weren't an elf.
Listen, he's got a grievance in. Don't worry. As
You're gonna make it happen?
soon as he saw him, he filed a
You
grievance.
gonna make it happen?
Somebody
make it
took
happen?
my job.
Yes.
Okay. Well, next year I look forward to that.
Lee will be the elf next year. We promise. Notice he's just not talking
He's
back.
soaking it in.
Oh, let's get this done. I gotta go in the plant. And then all of a sudden it's like, now we got time for jokes.
We always have
I don't
time
think
for
it was
jokes.
a joke.
We always have time for jokes, Lee, especially if they're on you.
Okay. I'm understanding. I'm always on your side.
A reminder, the vacation selection process, it's closed as of today on Monday the 9th. Your vacation and floating holidays that you did not take will be paid out this Friday. A reminder, you can still use that vacation for time off. You can still use your floating holiday for time off. And you can still work your floating holiday for the difference, even after the payout on the 13th. Our next arbitration was scheduled for December. I think we might have the docket settled. We should find out here later this week. Christmas basket update, Lee.
Christmas basket. So tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, I'll do one last go through, get any nominations and donations, and then we'll be putting the boxes away for the year. Letters should be starting to go out today. I'll be going to get all the letters from Marguerite and getting them out to the committeemen. Our committee met last Friday, or Thursday. We will be doing 450 baskets this year. It'll be done on December 19th at 5 o'clock. So it is open to the public. I encourage everyone. It's always a good time. Takes 20 minutes to a half hour to do all them baskets. So come on out.
And pickup is the next day.
Yep.
What's the times?
From 5:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night.
Thank you, Lee. The next round of third levels are scheduled for the end of January. So well, scheduled, I'd say tentatively
Yeah.
scheduled for the end of January. If you got a grievance that's setting at third level, most likely it'll be heard then.
Also, there is a safety perception survey out. We had a company come in, DSS, DuPont Safety Services. They came in and did some focus groups here about 2-3 weeks ago. Now they have a survey out. It is in our Forerunner. It's in the AVN. It's also in the works. Please take it. We're recommending everybody take it. It's a short survey about the safety culture. You can add comments if you want to, but the survey generally takes about 5 minutes, and you'll be able to tell Arconic, Apollo, DuPont, what you think of our safety program, whether good, bad, whatever. But please take it. That also ends on the 20th at 5 p.m.
All right, you need to go, Mike? You're past your time?
I probably need to go. Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for gracing us with your presence.
Well, and I mean, you'll get my interview here later. Real good interview. So
You don't have a goodbye song or anything, Sean?
thanks to all my fans.
You're a monster.
See ya.
See ya.
Thanks, Mike. A reminder that while this is a joyous and happy time for some, it is not for others. Please be aware of that. Be respectful of your coworkers. Some have a really hard time around the holidays. And a reminder, if you know somebody that needs help, there is the Employee Assistance Program, and you can reach them by calling 1-800-454-2364. Lee.
Yep. This we received the call for the international convention that's going to be held April 7th through the 10th, and then you get the travel day. So really, it'll be the April 6th through the 11th out in Las Vegas. This month at the business meetings on the 17th, we'll be taking nominations, and then we'll be voting on January 21st. January 21st, we'll be doing voting for that. So if you want to get nominated, come to this business meeting, have someone nominate you. And then you got to make sure you meet your meeting requirements, and you have to have your acceptance letter in by, I believe Mike said, midnight on Sunday. On Sunday.
Or it has to be postmarked.
Right. That's in. Yep.
So another reminder that 2026 contract ends on noon on May 16th of 2026. As of Friday, that was 526 days away, or 75 paychecks. If you take 75 times 50 and say $50 for each of your next paychecks, it's $3,750.
You haven't started saving, it's getting less and less.
Yeah, you're you need to have saved anywhere from probably 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. I would say.
Reminder to check your paychecks, and a lot of the questions we get nowadays with all the holidays, and especially usually comes around with the holidays where there's 2 in a row, is people wondering if they got paid right. Your paycheck will split out anything that is straight time pay, and your straight time pay will be on one line. Your straight time part of any premium pay will also be on a separate line. Then your half time for, like, if you work Sunday only, your 0.5 will be broke out into a separate line is just the half time. If you got double time, it's 0.1, and that's on a separate line. And then your holiday premium is a different line. And then if you had double time, that would be a separate line too. And that's only the premium piece. All of your straight time will be calculated or be on a different line.
Yep.
So if you have questions on that, you can ask a steward or ask your committee person. All else fails, you can call the hall. We can help you out as long as we have a copy of it. If you're looking at retiring sometime, right, Sean?
Oh, yeah.
Our office manager, Dan, he is a go-to resource for your retirement questions and issues. His hours are Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. If you want to talk to him, you can feel free to call. If you want to come in and see him, call ahead and make an appointment. Retirees are able to get $175 of union merch when they retire. Again, you come down to the hall and pick that out. Your first year of SOAR dues is also paid. If you need help with your intent to retire for your extra $500, you can get help here at the hall. We like doing that down here so we have proof it was submitted. A reminder that has to be in 3 full months in advance of your retirement date, and you can only retire on the first of the year. Your pension is...
Wait, you can only retire the first of the year.
Oh, first of the month.
Okay.
I knew you were looking like
Man,
something.
I do pay attention.
What?
I could feel the looks on either side of me. So, your pension is calculated on your highest pay grade. A reminder, it's the highest pay grade you had in the last 10 years, and the 1,000 hours of that pay grade has to be in that 10 years, the whole 1,000 hours.
How many more years you got, Sean?
Oh, the way it's going, about 32 more years.
Oh,
So
yeesh.
maybe not.
Are you in 04 hire?
Yeah, so I got 20 in, so maybe 10. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
You?
Well, I got 15.
Oh, 15.
You know to say it like that.
He's dedicated.
He's something.
Yeah, it's a lot of dedication.
Those SOAR meetings are the first Thursday of each month at 1:30. And we did get news on Friday that Humana has agreed with Genesis Mercy One to bill Humana as out of network. Now, our negotiated plan for our retirees with Humana is an open PPO. That means there's no in or out of network, so our retirees are not affected. So, thankful for the negotiations that our union and our locals did on that Humana plan that really helped out our guys right now, that they don't have to get charged any extra.
Yeah, I think that really puts a lot of retirees' minds at ease. Can't tell you how many calls we fielded down here. Quite a few.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
So in other news, the NLRB has made it illegal, or it's let me see here, where are we at? Illegally interfere with workers' rights for companies to have closed
Captive audience meetings.
captive audience meetings, that's it. So that's just huge for places of employment or workers, really. It's huge for workers that it gives them really a level playing field on getting a union at their workplace.
Yeah, and I mean, I know me and Mike, there's a few others out here that went to Lancaster to try to help them organize, and I can't tell you how impactful those captive audience meetings are. They will just flat out lie to people, tell them all kinds of things that are just not true. I can tell you from my perspective, because we're Arconic employees, we're able to go onto the property and be at the gates and talk to people, kind of distribute some literature, maybe some stuff we have here at Davenport or within our master, maybe things that they may want to consider bargaining if they would vote a union in. And they would come after they'd have these captive audience meetings that seemed like right at the end of their shift, and they would come right out to the gate and talk to us and tell us that we're lying to them and all this isn't true. And we'd have to show them in our contract books and all this stuff of what we have. It's those are just people that actually came out and talked to us. How many? I mean, obviously they ended up voting the union down, or voting the right to unionize down. Obviously a whole bunch of people took in what these people said and took it as fact, and it's I just can't tell you how impactful they are. That was probably the most negative thing that was very powerful in making sure they don't get a contract out there.
So with Lancaster, you guys said you showed them checks stubs, and they tell you guys are lying.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, right after, almost it seemed like right after you guys were gone, hey, it didn't pass there, then they just started taking away stuff from
they
those
froze
guys.
their pensions right after. And I can remember, specific meetings pointing it out that, hey, they could freeze your pension at any time. You know, you don't have a contract to protect that. They'll never do that. You know, we heard that, you know, and then what do you know? It happens. You know, it's, they learn the hard way. That's for sure.
Yeah, Lee, you said that it was very impactful, those closed caption meetings or closed audience meetings.
Mm-hmm.
It says here, according to this report, that the win rate of organizing falls from 73% to 47% when those meetings are used. And
sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I'm curious to see how, since this gets changed, the numbers that'll happen, because I'll just tell you, like, from out there organizing, in order to organize, to file a petition to vote for a union, you need 30% of cards signed. When we went out there, we always wanted 60%, because once you start, you file the petition, the company, that's usually when the company would come out. Not just Lancaster and other places as well. That's when the company brings in the captive audience meetings and does all these negative things. And, you know, that's why we wanted the 60%, because you're going to lose some people just because they buy into the lies and they get scared, those types of things. So I'm really curious to see how the numbers will go since this ruling. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, another thing with those meetings, companies do spend more than $400 million per year on consultants who specialize in union busting. Meanwhile, you know, some of the tools you use or some of the things that people need for their job, uniforms, whatnot, we can't deduct that from our taxes, but companies that spend this money can deduct it from their taxes.
How crazy is that?
That's the world we live in. Well, this goes forward though to balancing the scale. We'll just see. Unfortunately, with changes coming probably in the labor board, we'll have to see if this stays intact or not.
Yeah, I hope so. It'd be great.
All right. Well, we got the interview, and then we'll come back.
All right.
All right. Today we're going to interview John Lepley, who is the Director of Education and Membership Development, United States Steelworkers. Welcome, John. How are you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing today?
Doing really good, really good. So we'll just start off for our newer listeners that may not know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up with the Steelworkers.
Oh, it's quite a story, and I guess, you know, I'll say it starts back in North Dakota. My dad was a lifer in the Air Force. He did 24 years, and actually my mom did a couple years. He was stationed in Minot, North Dakota for 16 years, and I'm like, who did you piss off to get us sent there, Dad? Not knocking North Dakota, but, you know, it was a little cold. And so I grew up in a military family, and I always saw that as my path. Like, my dad, both my parents served, my grandfathers, uncles, it was the family tradition.
Okay.
But when my dad retired from the service, we moved back to southwestern Pennsylvania, where the Lepleys are from. And, you know, not explicitly, but it started to seep in who my family was.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, one day dawned on me, well, the reason that, you know, so many Lepleys have served in the military is because, you know, a lot of them were poor working folks who that was the outlet for them when there were no jobs around. And in fact, my dad was actually drafted. He was a steel worker at Bethlehem Steel in Johnstown, and his number got pulled when they did the lottery in the late 60s, and so he enlisted in the Air Force. And so, you know, I'm kind of growing up with this this choice, like, you know, what do I do? Do I go into the service? Do I go into the world of work? And I had no idea what I wanted to do. and again, life intervened. You'll chuckle at this. I was a 160-pound linebacker in high school. And my coach told me, you got a lot of heart, which is another way of saying you aren't good. And I wasn't. I got my ass handed to me one day, and I got a plate put in my arm.
Oh, wow.
And the recruiter said, yeah, buddy, it's not going to happen. And so, I'm 18 and I had to figure out what am I going to do. And this is kind of ironic that I'm an educator now, but I hated high school. and I'm like any other teenage boy. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like being stuck in a building all day. Believe it or not, I flunked Algebra 2 just because me and math we don't go together.
Yeah.
But I loved history, and I loved to read just on my own and when I wanted to. And so one day I got this wild thought, like, well, maybe I could be a high school history teacher. And somehow I got into a local university. I don't know how. And I wanted to be a high school history teacher.
Okay.
And so this is early 2000s. Actually, I went to college about 50 miles away from where Flight 93 crashed.
Oh, wow.
I remember wild rumors going around campus that day.
Yeah, I bet.
Because there used to be, there were coal-fired power plants nearby, and there were all these rumors that, they were trying to fly them into the plane into the power plants, which people thought were nuclear.
Oh, okay.
So it was just a crazy day, It's like one of those days, like when Kennedy got shot, like everybody will know where they were that day.
You bet, yep.
So anyway, I'm thinking I want to be a high school history teacher. Well, I loved my history classes, especially the classes about working people, because, it dawned on me that's who my family is.
Yep.
We're coal miners, waitresses, steel workers. I didn't really like the education classes, and so I went straight to history major, and I started taking classes in like labor relations and collective bargaining, and I loved it. So I wound up staying there for 5 years, got a bachelor's degree, then a master's degree, and 2005 I went to go work for the National Labor Relations Board in Denver, Colorado, and this was culture shock for me because I grew up in a town of like 700 people. Like I was related to, 2 out of every 3 people there.
Yep.
And Denver was just culture shock. So I'm working for the NLRB, and this is the federal agency that oversees labor relations. And I went there thinking I could do some good for working people, for union members, and that was not my experience.
Yep.
I had to apply the law as it was written and interpreted. And at this point in time, the NLRB under George W. Bush was not really favorable to workers. So I only stayed for 6 months, and I didn't know what the hell I was going to do with my life. So I actually, when I don't know what to do with myself, I just went back to school. I got another master's degree in history in Terre Haute, Indiana. And in the summers, I worked for a couple different unions. I worked for the steel workers. I worked for the United Electrical Workers in Connecticut. I went to Alaska for a few months, and I loved it.
Wow.
Because this is like, I'm doing work that can help people make a difference in their day-to-day lives.
Yep.
So, 2010, a position opened up with the steelworkers. I was encouraged to pursue it. And, here I am almost 15 years later.
That is an awesome story. I absolutely love that. So going along, so now you're at the Steelworkers, you've worked your way up, you're the director of the Education Membership Development. I mean, we all understand you guys do a lot of education, but what does your department encompass?
So the department, as of now, is 10 people with an incredible, I'd say, breadth and depth of knowledge. not just on topics like arbitration, grievance handling, steward training, but they're also just good educators. And, you know, like, think back a few minutes ago, I said I didn't like high school. You know, and I think you've been through a lot of our classes, Mike. We don't get up there and just talk at people.
Yes.
You know, the education that we do, the education that makes a difference in people's lives is when you get people talking about the things that they're dealing with. Because they also have the answers to those problems. Right?
Yeah.
And it comes down to a question of you know, of power, right? Who has it and who doesn't.
That's right.
And so, you know, whether it's labor history, which I love, or steward training, which I love, or, you know, we're developing classes right now on note taking, which is really important for bargaining and grievance handling, right?
Yes, it is.
But we try to always, if people can walk out of our classes and they think, you know, I learned a lot from the people in the room with me, that means we've made a difference.
Yep.
Because the knowledge is in the room. Our job is to bring it out.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that type of teaching where you get the conversation started and then it just kind of works itself. And like you said, people do have the answers. It's just got to come out. So.
Yeah, and it comes down to power, and maybe you have differences with people, but you know what? Majority of people in this country are workers. They have that in common.
Yep, I completely agree. So then how have your classes changed over the years since you've been in the department?
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw me early on when I was just getting started, Mike, and I was as green as the grass. I was nervous up front. I think one thing in education and probably in a lot of other areas of life is, you know, like you build up a bank of stories that you can draw from and to share.
Yep.
Or techniques. I was kind of starting from scratch, and so I was just trying to soak up everything. So, you know, public speaking is terrifying.
Yes, it is.
And I still get jitters every time I do it. You know, when I started back in 2010 and even today, but you know what, those jitters, I'll say for listeners, if you got to speak in public, they help keep you honest too.
Yeah.
And this is actually something I heard somebody say in class. And so a public speaking class, and it's kind of part of my toolbox now. Excuse my language here, but you have to just get to a point where you don't give up.
Oh, absolutely.
What people are thinking and speak what's on your mind.
No, I completely agree. And I'll just say from my experience between the classes down at Mink, the leadership classes I've taken, I can remember being scared in every situation I was in to speak in public. And while there's still times where I get nervous and maybe it doesn't show as much, but it has gotten a lot easier because of the techniques I learned through those classes. So.
Yeah, you know, screw it, you know, just work through it and make it work for you.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So, obviously social media is playing a big part in everybody's lives now. How has that changed or impacted how you teach?
I'd say a lot of ways, and it's tough for me to sum up, because people are learning in so many places. Like, you know, it's kind of like the classroom is actually some of the places people learn the least because they're soaking up this information everywhere. So we've been having a lot of discussions about how do we tap into this, whether through, you know, videos on TikTok, you know, a podcast like you guys are doing is a really great example. So we're still trying to figure that out. And I'll give you a concrete example is when people bring up using social media as a union building tool. Hey, it's great, but nothing beats a one-on-one, face-to-face conversation.
Absolutely.
Where you can build those relationships, where you can actually meet someone for who they are, not this image of them that you see on Facebook or X or whatever you're using these days. So I'm actually looking for answers on social media if you've got any. I think podcasts like this are a great thing.
Yeah, and kind of like what you said, the one-on-ones to me is the most important. But you also have to know when to insert the social media. You have to know when to back off, and we're kind of learning that as we go. We've got all the platforms. One of our bargaining reps brought back from leadership this year. We hadn't been using TikTok much, and now we're kind of integrating that into how we do our day-to-day stuff. So, but yeah, you just got to know when enough's enough, and like you said, it's always better to have those one-on-ones and talk to somebody in person. So
yeah, and also be aware that your boss is probably the second person listening to your stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we learn every day that we have bosses out there that are picking up our podcast. They'll come up to us and go, "Hey, I thought that last episode was great," and you'll look at them and go, "Wow, I had no idea that you would be listening." So,
give them a card to sign.
Oh, absolutely. We've had that talk.
That is.
We're probably going to have a salary listener of the month that we're gonna start bringing out. So
that's awesome.
So you do training all over the place. You do it in all the districts and locals. What are some issues that you have seen coming up and that our locals are dealing with, and are they new, or is it the same stuff we're dealing with over and over again?
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of excuse my language again, same shit, different day.
Yep.
I hate to say it. But regardless of the workplace, whether it's a nursing home, a health clinic, a manufacturing plant, or a mine, it's short staffing.
Yep.
I've heard more than once in the past couple of years, it's like I live at work and I vacation at home.
Yep.
All right. How do you have a family around that? And education takes time.
Yes.
All right. Well, if you've been working nonstop, you're away from your families. I don't blame people if the last thing they want to do is go to a class a couple hours away.
Yeah.
To be away from their families more. It's tough.
Yes.
That's definitely one thing. And then I don't know how to describe it. Just there's a lot of frustration, uncertainty out there. Someone's calling me on the other line right now. I don't know if that's beeping in on your end.
Just a little bit, but we're good.
Okay. Just a lot of uncertainty. Like, it's been chaotic times. And it's tough to point my finger at one thing. Like, it's a whole range of things. But that comes into the workplace, right? Like,
yes.
And into classes. That is stuff on people's minds. That's the issues happening in the workplaces, and we got to try to figure out how to address those.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Yes, absolutely. So that kind of leads me into my next question. So we have some of our listeners that are new to getting involved with their union. We have some new ones here trying to find their place and into getting involved. What would be your advice to them?
Some of the stuff that I've learned from, and I would say I learned more from, people I would call the veterans of the movement than I did from the classes I took in school. But, where they learned was getting their foot in the door as a steward, as a committee person, and in the Steelworkers Union. There are so many places for people to get active in the union. Right. One of our, I once heard an anecdote that George Becker, who was president of the Steelworkers, I think from the late 90s, maybe to 2001 or something like that, he said his path to leadership started with the first steward class he ever took. Because, the role of the steward, it doesn't involve any technical wizardry or anything. It's building those face-to-face relationships with your coworkers, your union sisters, brothers, and siblings.
Yep.
It's being able to deal with management and on a professional level and solve problems. And sometimes you disagree, and you got to, stand your ground with your folks, go through the processes. So I would say the steward, you're really like the front lines of the defense for members. You're like the Swiss Army knife of the union. and in the committees and the local union structure, that's what I would say is the best place for people to get involved and do the work of the union.
No, I appreciate that. That's a great answer. And like I said, we have a lot here that are just trying to get involved and just trying to find out where their place is. So thank you for that, John. So,
and I know, I was just, one other thing is, you guys have bargaining every couple years.
Yep.
And CAT teams, right? It's the same thing.
Yep.
Is communicating with people, talking with them, and building that trust. And I think that's something that people want these days is to trust what they're hearing, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I completely agree with you. Well, thank you for that. So now we got a few easy questions before we get into our final ones. So are there any books or movies you recommend for anybody interested in the beginning of their kind of labor movement?
Oh, dude, I could give you a million books. I'll give you my top three that come to mind.
Okay.
And the first is a novel. It's a beautiful novel called Out of This Furnace by Thomas Bell. And it's, it was written almost 80 years ago. It was actually, if I remember correctly, I think it was published right before the U.S. entered World War II. And so it kind of, quote marks here, disappeared for a few decades, and it got rediscovered in the late 70s. But it's a novel of these immigrant steelworkers building a union here in Pittsburgh. And so it is, even though it's fictional, it's inspired by the truth.
Okay.
Right. And, the second book is a little more recent, and it's nonfiction, like it's history, but it's written like a novel.
Okay.
It's called The Long Deep Grudge by Tony Gilpin. And it's about a union. They actually had a couple plants in Iowa, but if you have members who grew up on farms or have farms on the side, this is a book about the Farm Equipment Workers Union, and they used to make International Harvester tractors.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely.
And talk about an amazing union. Incredibly militant, incredible organizers. And in this book, it talks about how they fought a company who was as anti-union as they get. And they also fought back against a lot of the tools that employers often use to divide and conquer. Like they, in the late 40s, early 50s, I can't remember the date, they set up a plant in Louisville, Kentucky, and they tried to use racial divisions, right? They hired white workers from the countryside, and they hired African Americans. And the company thought, well, we're just gonna, let these divisions keep the workers fighting each other, and that didn't happen. They built this incredible union, and then they actually took that energy and they started fighting segregation out in the community. So it's a beautiful book.
Oh wow! Yeah.
The third one I'll mention is another old school book. It's called Labor's Untold Story. It's just a classic book of labor history from like the late 1800s up until the 1950s. I can't remember the author's name, but Labor's Untold Story. It was actually written by union journalists, and so it's a book written for people.
Okay.
It's not a book written for it's not a book written for academics. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
So, I'd encourage, those are always sort of the top three that I encourage people to read. And if people want more, hey, reach out to me. Iowa has an incredible labor history.
Yes, they do.
And I can't think of any books off the top of my head right now, but there's actually a lot of about the meat packing history and even agricultural history in Iowa.
Okay. Any movies you recommend? Old, new?
The movies, the classic is always Matewan.
Absolutely. I love it.
Saw this movie. Matewan, for listeners, is a little coal mining town in southern West Virginia. Matewan. And it was the site of a really long, protracted mine war. And so this movie is incredible that walks you through that. And to give you a sense of how important that the events that happened in Matewan, there's a museum there today. I think it's actually at the old Mine Workers Hall.
Oh,
and
wow.
so they've started a labor education camp that happens every other year, and they call it Camp Solidarity. And they're bringing people in from all over the country, I think all over the world, and they're talking union stuff there.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies, and for our listeners, it's on Turner Classic Movies all month this month. So.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful movie, and the way they weave in like the impact, the role of religion in people's lives and music, and it's got James Earl Jones who just kicks ass in that movie.
Yep, I agree. Anything else?
There's another one older called Salt of the Earth, which is very good, and it's got an amazing history in and of itself. But it's about a miners' strike in the early 1950s. The miners are playing themselves. Like the making of the movie is an incredible history.
Oh wow!
And you can watch it on YouTube. One of the more recent ones I really like is Sorry to Bother You.
Okay.
By I can't remember the name of the actor, and it's a wild movie, pretty surreal. It involves people turning into horses.
Nice.
Yeah. You go, be open-minded when you see it, but it's a movie about organizing and challenging a boss.
Okay, no, those are great. I mean, the books, the movies, we always appreciate you. That's one question we always ask you because, you always give us good ideas of stuff to watch, stuff to read. So I love it.
Just don't let your kids watch Sorry to Bother You.
Okay, well, I've got older kids, but yeah, no, I can imagine. So, okay, so for the next question, this is probably the most serious question out of the entire interview. So. Be ready, but I know you teach a lot at our leadership scholarship course, and you recently taught a fourth year leadership class, I believe earlier this year, April, May. We were told that you had one student head and shoulders behind everybody else. Without using names, can you tell us how Lee Schaefer was to teach, and how many times you had to stop him from taking all the donuts from the rest of the class?
He was the student that every teacher wants. We'll say that. And in fact, I think I might have a picture of him holding a tray of donuts.
I believe you do. I believe we have that. Yes.
Yeah, I may have done something shitty, like send it to all of you after I took it. I mean, that is just an image of someone who's the happiest guy in the world. But look, Lee's a great brother to work with. He's a solid guy, and. Yeah, I hope to see him again. Actually, his family grew up near where I went to school. I found out.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, me and Lee have a connection.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. So we always like to have a little fun with him. So
music.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to that here in a minute, but so since this is kind of our holiday edition, the last podcast of the year, we always like to have a little fun, maybe with our guests. So we're going to do a few rapid fire questions, and then I have two kind of short questions to wrap up the interview, and then we'll be done. So here's the first four. Just whatever you think, whatever what comes to mind, just say it. So this is our holiday favorite edition. So what's your favorite holiday movie?
My favorite holiday movie. Oh shit, I can't even think of one right now. We'll go with It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay. Next question. Real or artificial? And I mean trees.
Artificial. I ain't picking up no needles off the floor.
Okay. Holiday food.
Pierogies.
Ah, okay. Now dessert.
I know what those are.
We do know what those are, only from coming to Pennsylvania.
Okay. Well, for everyone else, they're dumplings, a Polish treat. Usually filled with like potatoes and cheddar cheese.
Yep.
Worth the calories.
Yep, I agree. So what about a dessert?
Pumpkin roll.
Okay, so now for this one, what's your favorite holiday tradition? It doesn't have to be quick. You can. Do you have a tradition?
So my paternal grandmother, was Polish, and among them was this tradition of the Wigilia, which is just a dinner, like everyone else does, a big Christmas Eve dinner, and you always leave an open table setting in case you have a long lost relative or a stranger walk in. I think the Wigilia, vigil.
Okay.
So, usually, I'm a good boy nowadays, but when I was younger, there was often a lot of alcohol involved, as I'm sure with a lot of your listeners.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, no, that's great. So for this last question, we kind of grouped together and for these rapid fire ones, everybody kind of had some input. But for this last one, those of us who can write and spell in the podcast, we both had this question. So this is probably the most important question. So what's your favorite song and why is it sung by Sammy Hagar?
Oh, fuck, yeah. I think I shared this with you guys before, but Van Hagar just gets under my skin like nails on a chalkboard. I told you I was like, 160-pound linebacker.
Yeah.
And so my junior year, I only got to play, I think, like a game and a half, and I had to sit out the rest of the season. So I worked my butt off, and I fought my way to a starting position my senior year. And before our first game, a home game, we're in our, we're in the locker room.
Yep.
This is such a corny thing. The coach turned off the light, and he plays this effing song Right Now by Van Hagar. And he's like, we're going to turn this team around right now. And he starts saying all this stuff about people. And he's like, he gets to me. He says, John Lepley, he has no talent, but he's going out there and playing. And then it's like, you want me to go out and play, and you just told the whole team I have no talent? Like what the hell, man?
That is awesome. That is awesome.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
No, it's an awesome story. I mean, I know we joke back and forth about Van Halen, Van Hagar, all that stuff. Do you have a favorite holiday song or song in general?
What's that Kinks song, Father Christmas?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like old school Kinks.
Okay, cool. Well, that's all I have for you today, John, and we always appreciate you coming on the podcast. You're one of our favorite interviews to do, and like I said, this is our holiday edition, our last one of the year, so we want to wish you, your family, all the steelworkers happy holidays, and we hope to talk to you again soon, John.
All right. Well, hey, appreciate you having me on. I hope you all have a great holiday season, too, and take care, stay strong, and solidarity.
All right. Thanks, John.
Are we back, Sean? Are we recording?
We can be, yeah.
Are we? Okay.
Sure.
Just wanted to make sure.
So, Lee, what'd you think of that interview? Pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good interview.
Absolutely great interview.
Yeah.
John Lepley is one of the smarter guys we know, and I thought he did very well.
Makes me want to rock out to some Van Hagar.
Yeah, Sammy Hagar. I mean, after listening to that interview, I agree. Thanks, John. We appreciate some of the new recommendations for Sammy's music.
Yeah.
I think shouldn't time heal those wounds? I mean, it wasn't really Sammy that did something bad towards John.
Yeah,
it was the coach.
Yeah, but it was Sammy's music, and I mean, it's left a lasting impression, and I mean,
I feel like he's taking it out on the wrong person.
The butt hurt is real there. I mean,
When he said football, does that mean soccer?
No,
I think it was American football.
It was American football, yes. So, again, we want to thank John. He's always good on the interview here. We appreciate all the knowledge you have, John.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's that time. Sean?
Hello?
Where can people find us?
Oh, they can find us. How come I always have to do this?
It's your part, man.
Oh.
Expect it out of you.
Okay, well. They can find us on our Facebook page, Steel Revolution Podcast, USW, Local 105. On your Apple products, look for the podcast app. Find us on there. Podcast Addict for the Android app, Google Play Music, iHeart Radio app, Spotify app, YouTube, Odyssey app, Libsyn.com, Local's website, and the men's restroom here at Local 105.
Mike,
Yes.
we need new pint glasses. Get the 3 logo ones
yeah.
that we had on the shirt, and
Yep.
we need new ones.
Okay,
We
let's
just
talk.
need to get it done.
Let's talk, and I do have some stickers coming in, so we will be giving some stickers to some select individual and maybe some select individuals, and maybe choosing our first salary listener of the month in January. We have some ideas here. So
Man,
You're doing a new segment?
yes, we're gonna add. We might add a new.
did
segment.
you just think of that?
Oh no. Me and Mr. Geisens there talked about it.
Oh,
earlier,
no.
so-
You brought it up.
I know he wants nothing
know-
to do with this, but that's good. So,
I felt a little bit of Lee there when you're like, why do I have to do this? And it's like, we give you a spot where you for sure talk every time, so it's not just you behind the computer,
What do you mean?
not on there, and it seems like you didn't appreciate it. You kind of remind me of Lee.
I'm
Why?
sorry.
What do you mean?
I'll take that back.
We've given you several of your own segments to make you feel
To
like
make
you're
fun
part
of
of
me.
this,
To
no,
make fun of
it's
it.
to include you.
to include
Okay.
you.
Oh,
We are about inclusion here.
oh, now that you say it that way, I feel so much better.
We
You should. You should.
We never laugh at you.
We never.
me how to eat donuts.
That's
We
about
laugh
inclusion.
with you, and we include you.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, wait a minute. We're all on your side.
Yeah. Don't get mad at us.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Go nuts.
We'll have a lot to do in January. So, are we done? I mean, is it over?
What is it? Is there Christmas wishes?
Yes, absolutely.
Holiday wishes?
So I know everybody's expecting this one from me, so I'll just go ahead and say it. I'd like to wish happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, to everyone, including everyone. So, happy holidays.
Everyone, including everyone.
Yes.
You know who you are.
You know exactly who you are. So thanks. We will see you next year.
Yeah. Happy holidays, like Mike said. Whatever you celebrate, happy holidays.
Happy
Oh,
holidays.
I thought maybe.
Happy holidays. I don't know.
Happy
I thought
holidays.
maybe everybody else would want to say
Yeah,
something.
no, they don't. They don't.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
holidays.
All right.
Be safe.
All right.
Be safe and don't forget to say something good about your union.
Every day.
See ya.